just update us on the roster?
Stahlberg is still hopeful for tomorrow. Nealer had a little nagging thing, so got off. Eric went on for a few minutes like we wanted to, and then he come off. And Boro could be available in the middle of the series somewhere, but not at the beginning.
Are you apt to, 24 hours away from tomorrow's start, are you apt to stick with the same lineup that got you through New York?
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Like I said, every game, even if it's against the same team, always open to changes and trying to get the mix that we need for the identity that we want to have against Pittsburgh.
Are you expecting any bit of a feel-out process to start tomorrow night's game, or is it guns a-blazing?
It's the same as it's been the first two series. I don't see anything different. You know, we played Boston, who had done terrific for their last month of the year, and that was a tough team to beat. And then we played the Rangers, who were, you know, a team without really any major flaws and with the terrific speed, you know, that have been contenders for years. And now we meet Stanley Cup champions and the team that beat the #1 team in the league, so we know exactly what we're up against.
Speaking of speed, is Pittsburgh's any more of a challenge than it was against the Rangers? A lot has talked about the way they move through the neutral zone. Is it any different than you faced the Rangers?
Well, the thing I think is that it was good for us to play the Rangers before we were here, because they have a lot of the similar type of speed in the neutral zone, and so I think that's prepared us well for this series. You know, we think that obviously they got high-end stars. You know, they got 3 superstars in their top 3 lines with the forwards, and that's something that's, you know, new. You know, the depth that the Rangers had was evident, and the speed was evident. And we said all along that the 2 fastest teams in the league were, for us, Rangers and Pittsburgh. So in that respect, we faced the same challenges in terms of the speed and the counteract of offense. I think they're similar in the sense they transition right away, and they have lots of speed. So they're coming at you with speed, and obviously you got high-end stars that can create something out of nothing.
We've seen a different Bobby Ryan, if you will. I know you said this is the same Bobby Ryan you've seen all year, but even he admits that you've asked him to change his game to do something different than just be a scorer. What did you ask of Bobby, and is it now starting to pay off? Are you seeing the dividends throughout the playoffs here?
I think we've asked the same thing of every player since day one. Every single player was asked to be the best two-way player he can be. And if you're more of a defensive player, like Pyatt, well, you're asked to find out how to score goals his way, which he did last series, you know, at the net and tipping pucks. And if you're an offensive player, then you find ways to be a great two-way player by defending better. And I think Bobby's been the same as everybody else. If you look at our last series, I think the last 2 games, what you saw was Turris had his best, his very best, and finishing 9 body checks and first on puck and taking checks and crashing the net. If you look at the clips, Turris was at the net all the time, and Stoner was terrific. The last 2 games, he was great on both sides of the ice, and I think Bobby is the same. Bobby's at his best when he's involved, and you need to be involved. You need to be involved defensively as much as you are offensively. So I think in that respect, it wasn't something specific to Bobby. It's just everybody's got their own length in their process to get to where we're asking them to be, and you know, all our players, defensemen and forwards, we asked them to be the best two-way players they can be. So they had to flex to get to a part of their other side that's more of a weakness, and I think Bobby's no different than anybody. And I think that's where we've had a total buy-in from our players all year long. It's been a long road where guys have evolved, but they all evolved in the same direction as being good two-way players, and I think that's probably the reason why we're here today, is that those guys have not just talked about it, but they walked the talk, and they've achieved it. They deserve to be here.
So, man, Bruce? You were quick to point out that not a lot of people outside this building gave you chances in round 2. What do you feel about what the people say about your team right now?
I don't know. I didn't listen to anything yet, so all I know is that we're here, and our players have deserved to be here, and we're playing the Stanley Cup champion, and the team who beat the #1 team in the league. So I don't think we need to describe the matchup here. I think everybody knows what it is.
What was your message, generally speaking, to your team when you met with them this morning?
Oh, it was one of specifics. It was a look back at our last game against the Rangers and our approach and how we've evolved. We've always said that we want to get better every game, and that's been our approach since training camp. Every day has got to be a day where we improve at least something, and I think that every series, that was also our focus, is to make sure that we not just add on, but sometimes trim out stuff that we don't want. So we had to look back at the Rangers series and then close it, and then moved on to this series now against Pittsburgh. So looked at tendencies of the opponent, but mainly I'd say, like usual, 80% we talk about ourselves. You know, we spend 20% of the time on the things we have to watch out for, but we don't want it to be the opposite. It can't be 80% about the opponent and 20% about us. It's about us. We need to grow, we need to improve, and we know the opponent gets tougher and tougher as you move along.
I guess the Prime Minister said this morning that he's jumping on your bandwagon and is encouraging all Canadians to. How do you feel
Okay.
having that kind of backing?
Well, I didn't know about that. Well, I think it's great. It's great to. Canada is such a hockey country. It means so much to everybody here. That it's great to have at least one Canadian team left in the race, and our fans have been terrific all year long. And in the playoffs, they've been unbelievable, and we saw the support coming back from our last game late into the night at the airport. And the more that jump on the wagon, the better. And I think it's exciting for Canadians to still have a Canadian team in the mix.
For a number of your players, it's their first trip to the conference final, and some who've been around the league for a long time. Is it important for them to, as much as be focused on the game, but to take a breath and enjoy this opportunity because they've seen how hard it is to get there?
Yeah, there's a part that you do have to enjoy. I'll be honest with you. I've enjoyed this run even more than my first run, because you realize that you never know when it comes again, and it's something very difficult to achieve now in today's day and age with the NHL parity and all that. We were looking at Mark Crawford. We were talking about that yesterday. The last time he was in a conference final was 1997, and there's a guy who's been around, done everything, won everywhere, and it just makes you realize that, when you get that opportunity, it's special, and you need to understand that and internalize it. But at the same time, if you get caught up in all that emotion about how good you've done, you're not ready for what you need to do. And tomorrow is just a game that we need to play. We're not playing series. We're not trying to win 7 games at the same time. And and it's not about what happens after or what's happened before. It's really about the first 10 minutes of that game, and I think we've been really good at that. It's realize where we are, but I think the total focus that you need to be able to perform at your best is probably what's most important right now.
Does anything change for you? It's the first time through this playoff season that you start on the road. Some players said, it might be good to do something different. I don't imagine much changes, but is there a different mindset?
No, I think we've been a really good road team all year. And then we've been a good road team in the playoffs. We won the 3 games in Boston, and we won the last game to clinch the series in New York, where everybody was telling us it was impossible to win that game when it was the elimination game. So for us, our approach has always been the same, as whether you're on the road or you're at home. It's ice and boards, and it's about us and what we do. So there's no different focus now. There really isn't. I think that's been the key, I think, to our focus all year, is that everything that doesn't matter doesn't matter. It doesn't, no matter how many people think it does, no matter what people say. What we need to focus is on what we do, and to do that, we need focus on the specifics of what makes us good and what our strengths are. And so whether we're on the road or not, It hasn't made any difference for us, really.